Tamara, and today I am going to walk you through all of the steps that you need to know so that you can make your own party scrunchies. Alright, so as always, I am going to link to everything that you need to know to make these party scrunchies down below. These party scrunchies are really easy to make, but the difference between them and a regular scrunchie, I just want to point out, is that they've got this cute little edged detail here. So what I did when I made my first party scrunchie was I used cotton fabric. And I highly recommend that for your first party scrunchie, you use cotton fabric. The reason for this is because we're going to be ironing it a little bit. That way we get our folds folded properly, and it's just easier to iron cotton fabric. All right, so let's jump into that tutorial. All right, so you're going to need a piece of elastic cut at 5.5 inches to 6.5 inches in length, as well as a larger piece of fabric cut at 24 inches by 3.5 to 4 inches in length, and then a smaller piece of fabric cut at 24 inches by 1.5 inches in length. Once you have all of these pieces cut to the appropriate size, then take that small 1.5 inch piece, take it to your iron, fold it in half, wrong sides facing in, and then just iron all the way across so that you've created a crease down the center of that strip of fabric. Next, take that smaller strip that you just ironed and lay it along the top side of your larger strip of fabric, making sure that the right sides are together. And then pin all the way along that top edge so that the fabrics are neatly lined up. Take it to your sewing machine and sew a 1/4 inch stitch all the way along the top. All right, so once both of your pieces of fabric have been attached, take it back to the iron and iron along that seam, making sure that the smaller piece of fabric, the seam is laying flat down against your larger piece of fabric. This is important for later on. Now we can fold our scrunchie fabric in half, making sure that the fabric is right sides together, and then pin all the way along the top, and then we will sew across that top end. The difference here from our previous seam is that we want to leave between 2.5 inches unsewn on both ends. And now that we have sewn along that outer edge, we should have this nice little opening flap on both ends of the tube that we have sewn. And now it's time to take it back to that iron, and we want to do the same thing we did with the last seam. And we want to just press that seam down along the larger side of the fabric. So my smaller piece of fabric is that red fabric there, and so I'm just going to press that seam down towards that blue fabric. This really helps when you're sewing the scrunchie later on, so please don't skip this step. Next, it's time to turn your tube right side out. I like to use my easy point and turner for this part, but you can turn yours right side out however you wish. And now that that tube has been turned right side out, we do want to iron it one more time. We're just going to remind it where that previous crease was that we had sewn in earlier. Then it's time to open up both ends, lay the right sides together, and pin across that outer edge. Once it's pinned, take it to your sewing machine and do another 1/4 inch seam all the way along that outer edge. Now that that end has been sewn tight, we've completed our tube, so just pull that and bring it back to that iron. And now take that 6-inch opening section there that you've got and the larger piece of fabric, so for me that blue piece of fabric, just fold it in and iron along that edge at that 1/4 inch seam to push that seam into place. Once you've ironed that fold inwards, now it's time to add the elastic. For myself, what I like to do is take one end of the elastic and just clip it into place, and then take a safety pin, attach it to the other end of my elastic, and then I can start pushing the elastic on through the entire tube without being concerned that the one end of the elastic will continue to go on through with it. Once that elastic has made it through to the other side, now you've got two ends to your elastic, and you you can attach these together in two different ways. For myself, I actually like to just tie a double knot on the end, and I find that that is fine. However, if you want to be a little bit more professional, what you can do is lay the two ends on top of each other at about a 1/2 inch to a full inch, and then you can do a zigzag stitch along that elastic, and the zigzag stitch helps the elastic still be able to stretch. All right, so now we've got our final seam. So just pull that opening a little bit taut so that you can lay those two pieces together. The red fabric for myself is the smaller fabric, and that of course was ironed in half already. And then that blue piece of fabric, because we already ironed the fold inwards, they should lay nicely on top of each other. Then just grab some pins, pin along that opened edge, take it to the sewing machine, and then you're going to sew around the entire blue edge. By doing this, you are going to be closing that opened edge, but I do want to warn you, when you are sewing around that entire blue edge, make sure that the smaller piece of fabric, so that red piece of fabric, is folded exactly in half when you're sewing all the way around. You might have to do a little bit of adjusting while you're doing this. That way your seam on both sides of your scrunchie is shown on the blue fabric and doesn't run on over to that red fabric. And then this is what your party scrunchie will look like at the end. Now that you've done one, you can start playing around with different materials as far as your party scrunchies go. And you can also play around with the different depths of the strips of fabric. So my thinner strip, you could make just a little bit thicker. And of course, if you want it bigger and poofier, you can even make that larger piece of fabric a little bit wider as well.
And that, my friends, is everything that you need to know so that you can make yourself some adorable party scrunchies. I think that it's an adorable detail that you can add to a normal scrunchie. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please click that thumbs up button. And as always, subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss future tutorials. I hope you have a wonderful day. See you next time. Bye!